What an epic game it was today. You just can't miss. At the Tata Steel Chess 2024 round number 7, we had Vidit Gujrathi facing Firuza Alireza. He started with e4. Now you know Vidit in the first 6 rounds all the games had ended in a draw. He was waiting for something to happen. Of course, you want to win. Anybody would want to. With the white pieces, he starts with e4 and Alireza also plays c5. Now, this already says that the opening is going to be interesting. With it goes knight f3, Alireza goes d6, and there we have open Sicilian on the board. Yes, it is going to be a bloodbath. That is what it was. Knight d4, knight f6, knight c3, and knight off on the board by Alireza. With it simply continues with h3, a move popularized by Bobby Fischer. You want to stop knight g4 when you go bishop e3. Knight c6 was played. Now, well, it is not the usual move order. We go with bishop e3, with it continued e5, and with it takes back the knight to b3. Already after bishop e6 in this position, very few games in comparison to the main lines of knight off, but the whole thing, if you see the bishop coming to e3, the knight coming to c6, the threat of rook c8, everywhere the pressure is mounting on this side. Oops, there you go. So pressure is mounting on the side. With it plays queen to f3. Now this is clear that he is preparing long castle, but a queen on f3 also pressurizes knight on f6 with the ideas of bishop g5, keeps an eye on d5 as well, and a path to this bishop is open as well. So queen f3, a very interesting idea played by Vidit. He could have also continued with simple bishop e2, rook c8, but then here black absolutely has a very comfortable way of continuing with castle and knight coming to c5. He's very happy with the position. So after queen f3 by Vidit, Alireza goes knight b4. This has to be his preparation. It's a sideline unusual. We've not seen before. 8 games have been played in this. Knight c2 is the threat. With it goes long castle, and immediately Alireza brings his rook to c8. Now all these weak points here you can see Alireza has ideas there. With it goes king b1, which is considered as a prophylactic move. Whenever in Sicilian you have long castle, you do go king b1, you do keep your get your king out of the c file there, and the pins also keep the a2 defended. Another idea could be, normally we continue with g4, which is very interesting, but in this scenario there is a very nice tactic incoming with the black pieces. Black to player, guys, can you just try to think what to do? Absolutely. If you spot the move, it was knight a2 check, where you deflect this knight, and there you go. It's a pin there. Bishop takes b3. Of course, it's still not over. Bishop e6, and this will get into very complex kind of positions. So, but this is a tactic to keep in mind. Of course, black always has ideas with d5, which cannot be missed. And for g5, in fact, there has been a game with knight takes e4, knight takes e4, and the game had a different continuation, but this is already over. Exactly, that's the point. Black has this move, which is, I mean, there are many ideas which are very tempting, but queen c7, look at this, threatening a mate, getting the queen out of the pin. And if you go back knight c3, then again knight a2, just completely blasting this. The king you cannot take here. If you go king b1, then there is knight c3 takes, and over here queen c3, and the game is going to be over. So these are the dangerous tactics happening, for which Vidit has to be alert. He goes king b1 and says, wait, I am not immediately starting to attack. After king b1, Alireza naturally brings his queen to c7. Well, there was a point there, because what if d5, what if d5, which in the live game we were all looking at. And here if a3 is played, the move, the tactical move, just try to spot it, because in the game it was one of the key move. It did not happen in this move order, but knight c2, there you go with the rook on c8, king takes c2. And if you think that, oh, you're getting d4, sorry, that doesn't work here, because there is a pin. I'm sure, oops, very sorry, here it works, because if I go bishop g5, then you can simply develop the queen, and there is another pin, pin with pin, so that is the reason it will work. The problem is not bishop g5, but the problem is to get rid of it, you just give some material back. That's the point. Give material back, and white is not just a pawn up, but also now black's king is weak in the center. That's why it doesn't work. But d5 is a move all the time you want to be staying alert for. So king b1 played by Vidit in the game, and Alireza goes queen c7. Vidit just simply plays a3. I mean, obviously you want to kick the knight away, and there comes the shot. Knight c2 on the board today. Vidit takes the king. In the interview with Fiona and Tata Steel, he did mention that he did not consider this move, knight c2, and it happened on the board. But here he was calculating everything right there on the board. King takes c2, Alireza goes queen c6, and this is a very cool idea, because a full knight has been sacrificed. You can imagine a full knight. For what? What is this move saying? The idea is to go queen a4, and there is full pressure on the b3 knight. You can see the rook, the bishop, black's pieces are beautifully coming together for the attack. At this point, if Vidit doesn't find the next move, he might land up in a very difficult position. But here on the board, he thinks for a while and finds a very important move, that is knight d2. You can see the whole problem is with the king with the king defending this knight, and this knight getting under all sorts of problems. So with it takes the knight back to d2 over here, and at this point Alireza thinks for around 42 minutes. Now that's a huge time, because if Alireza has gone for this, definitely it has to be some sort of preparation, and he would be either trying to recollect it, because when you go knight b4, knight c2, you know some ideas for sure. And d5 is a move which has happened in 11 games, in the Karyakin versus Kismatulin. Wojtaszek has played from black, so d5 has happened. The point is, if you play e takes d5, then comes knight takes d5 attacking this, and there are all sorts of ideas with knight b1 defense, and also rook c1, queen a4 check. So this can get extremely complicated. So this was something which we were expecting, d5 by Alireza, but after 42 minutes of thought, this would get very complicated and the game would go on. But after 42 minutes of thought, what tempted Alireza was this check on a4, queen a4. Very natural but not the best move, because Vidit finds the best continuation here. He goes king d3. That's the move he goes for. Yes, b3 was a possibility where you weaken the knight and a pawn, and the queen goes back there on c6. But Vidit finds the best move, king d3. The king is getting out in the center, absolutely fearless. That's what Vidit was today. After the draws, he is wanting to win no matter what. Alireza brings another shot, rook c3, sacrifices the exchange, b takes c3, and if you count the material, Vidit at this point is a full rook up. Can you believe that? A rook up. That's how it is. So Alireza really needs to prove it, that what he has sacked the rook for. d5 happens on the board, opening the bishop. Yes, I mean, if not now, then when? And with it here, if he takes e takes d5, which he did not play by the way, if he takes e takes d5, Alireza would be ready to attack the queen here. if Vidit would go queen f5, trying to enter here, queen c8 and all, Alireza had this check to the king. Now, if you go here, then you can repeat check, check, and could be a perpetual. But if white says no, I am a rook up and I really want to keep that and tries to play c4, then it would be very interesting to see after bishop c4, knight c4, finish here. Can you find a move for black? Yes, you guys have got it. Not so difficult. E4 check, and there you lose the queen. So that was a nice tactic over there. Alireza did play d5, and Vidit said, I don't care. He goes king e2. A very important move. Vidit finds on the board. King takes to e2, getting safer on the center around the pieces. D takes e4 played by Alireza. Queen goes to g3. That's the only square, of course. And Alireza gets the knight to d7, wanting to maybe go here, but with it immediately goes king e1. Look at the pieces, look at the bodyguards over here. The king feels very safe, and let's not forget that even the black king is in center, white is a rook up. These are the two things to remember. Alireza now would love to capture this, but then there is no time. The knight jumps to e4. This is a very comfortable position here for white. So Alireza goes f5, defends the pawn, also threatens f4. It's in the air. With it simply develops bishop e2. And now the point is, firstly, if you try to take the pawn, there is this problem. You can't do that. Secondly, if you try to take with the queen, then Vidit has these ideas like, going f4, striking in the center, also creating a square for the king. The main idea is to bring the rook into the game as early as you can. So that's also not working. But if you go f4 and try to, go for this double attack, so after takes, takes, and takes, Vidit can give back the material, and also this is hanging, so this doesn't look very good because black king would be in trouble in center as well. So that doesn't work. That's why Alireza also, let's not forget that after bishop e2, with it has these ideas of bishop h5 and even sacking the bishop on g6. So Alireza himself goes g6, gets rid of the problem of queen g7 and bishop h5 as well, after which Vidit very coolly and calmly goes with the very nice move again. He finds it on the board, h4, and right now it's white who is attacking the structure and the king. So h4 played by Vidit. Alireza develops the bishop to e7 there, and with it actually here the ideas f4 is there, it's in the air, it's being threatened, so with it will need to be careful. There is castle which is going to happen and some pressure here. So for with it there was a nice idea, queen h3, pinning the bishop and stopping f4. This was a nice idea. He goes bishop g5, which is also quite practical there. By the way, after queen h3, if castle, then with it does have bishop g5 and then h5 ideas in the air. Also for queen h3, what else can black do? If you just have a look at it, no, oops, sorry, there's not much here to do. So queen h3 was very strong. Bishop g5 played by Vidit. F4 by Alireza. The queen is attacked. Vidit still gives up the material, and he has got into a position where he's attacking the e4 pawn. And if Alireza goes bishop d5 to defend, I believe what Vidit really liked for himself was h5. And it's the black king in the center with rook f8. The queen jumps into c7. So, but Alireza could have gone e3. So this would keep some complications, some task for Vidit, though he's still better, and with the kind of calculation and the ideas which he was finding on the board so creatively and so confidently, for sure this would be possible to defend. Just that after rook f8, which Alireza went for in the game, it made the task easier because Queen takes c4, attacked the bishop and the queen, and the queens got exchanged there. The attack fizzled out, so Alireza had an exchange for the rook, had an is an exchange down. Bishop f5 played on the board, and let's not forget it is 27th move. Alireza was also in time pressure, massive time pressure. In fact, every move he had to make around 40 seconds, so that is not at all enough time. With it goes rook d4, defends the knight. This knight jumps to e5, but with it simply exchanges this pawn. Now the rook is active on its own. He goes bishop h5, exchanges another minor piece there. Knight goes to c6, rook d5, takes the bishop, and this pawn is now much more weakened. The rook jumps in on the 7th rank, king goes to e6, another rook jumps in on the 7th rank, b pawn is attacked, it's pushed. With it plays f3, just completely solidifying the knight. A calm move there. Rook c8 by Alireza. As we can remember, this is move number 35. Alireza still under big time pressure. b4, with it takes the pawn, bishop takes, king goes to e2, and after a5, with it attacks the g7 pawn. Alireza tries to defend it, but the king jumps in with the threat of f4, wanting to kick the knight away. Knight check, king goes to d4, and now g6 is attacked. Alireza resigns over here. It's the 42nd move. What a game! It was so intensive. Uh, with it, after six draws, strikes back on the seventh round. In the seventh round, in fact, he joins. He joins. He joins the. No, he doesn't join the leader. In fact, he is on 4 out of 7 right now, which is a massive score. He's unbeaten, and this game with the white pieces, I'm sure in the coming games, he is in a fearless mood. Let's see what happens. But, guys, you could not have missed this game because it was the game of the day, maybe until now, the game of the tournament as well.